a goal, Quishbilly Huddersfield Town! The most famous goal of Quishbilly's life.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town.
Thank you.
And Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted.
Mustafa Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Hello and welcome back to the Andy Takes That Chance podcast, the podcast that tastes defeat as bitterly as if it's a pint of Worthingtons from Club Acapulco in Halifax back in 2005. Right, boys, guess how many games we've lost since we started this podcast back in 2018? Go on.
More than we've won.
Go on, Cozzy. That's
89.
89. Any higher or lower? Let's go, Bruce Forsyth. Higher or lower, Jerry? Where are we going?
I'm going to say exactly 100 to say that's why you're bringing it up.
Pozza, higher or lower?
I'm going to say, I'll go, yeah, it's a good point, that Jerry. I'll just go higher, though, just so I'm above and because he's below.
Right, the winner is Pos because he gets to go last. That's how these things usually work, isn't it? Usually standard. I've just realised Jerry is from America and he's got no idea who Bruce Forsyth is, so he's probably sat there just going, all right, guys, you do what you do. The answer is 115. That's typically about 22 and a half defeats a season. So that's good times have been had by all. But not such a good time for one of my guests this weekend. The new crypto king of Instagram, Richard Bitcost Kosmala, has found himself locked out of Instagram by a hacker. Cozzy, you're not a happy bunny, are you? And if anyone can help you on this, or if anyone has any advice, just tell them what's going on.
Yeah, I don't think they are. I don't think they've got some advice. So, yeah, unbelievable, really. But yeah, Instagram can't do anything. But yeah, just lost my Instagram account to an hacker. He's put two-factor authentication on. So yeah, you can get your password back. But as soon as you get that, you have to put that code to your phone. But that's their phone. But not only that, the guy rung me up yesterday about 2:15, like demanding money to get it back, and then emailing me and WhatsApp. So yeah, on your advice this morning, Matt, I went and spoke to the police, but police said about that the better. But yeah, expect
to report crime to the police.
Yeah, I spoke to the people at cricket today, and there's nothing you can do to get it back. It's just one of those things. Someone else there at cricket said exactly the same. So yeah, watch out on Instagram, nightmare. So yeah, expect another Kosmala Instagram account coming soon.
Don't take any advice off Cozzy on Instagram about buying Bitcoin. That is one thing we'll say about, or any other cryptocurrency or NFT. Avoid the NFTs.
Oh god, yeah.
Right. So with the bear and I is a man who has been the hide and seek champion of Huddersfield this past week and no showed at the Magic Rock car park for the Cowshed Loyal Q&A. A man under fire. It's Pozza. How are we doing, Poz?
Yeah, good, mate. You?
Not bad, thank you. Not bad. Very little response to that retort I've given you there. And with Americans now finding Huddersfield Town as the new go-to place with Kevin Nagle, bringing the cool back to HTAFC. I loved his trainers and suit combo. We turn to the original stateside Huddersfield Town fan. There can be only one. It's Jerry the Brain Hinnen. How are you doing, Jerry?
Yeah, I'm doing great, Matt. As always, delighted to come on, spend some time talking about Huddersfield Town as opposed to, at the grocery store, I'm like, hey, did you see the match this weekend? Huddersfield looked great. And they look at me like, well, you mentioned the brain. Like maybe I have my brains oozing out of my ears or something like that. A Huddersfield Town is not a thing that exists over here. So, again, being able to sit down and say, hey, I thought Jack Rudoni looked really great on Saturday and have people understand what that means. Always a delight.
Well, we've obviously got Tom Brady, who's taken Birmingham. He's gone to Birmingham, hasn't he? We've had Michael B. Jordan has gone to, doing things with Bournemouth. You've got stars who are actually starting to jump in with Huddersfield. And we had a star at Huddersfield at the weekend. It was actually one of those things. I think it was, I don't know. Do you remember, Jerry, back when about in the 90s, there was a TV show called Sister Sister and Tia and Tamara, the two twins?
Yes.
Tamara was there at the ground yesterday, so Kevin.
Really?
Nagle, yeah, I actually quite enjoyed that because it was a real sort of throwback to my childhood. That was fun. That was fun. A lot of fun.
I was not a sister watcher, but my wife, I think, was. So she'll be thrilled to find out that we now have, my wife and I don't have enough connection, really. So now that we both have this Huddersfield Town connection, where I root for the same team, where Tamara from Sister visited over the weekend, that's going to forge a new level for our relationship there.
Who would have thought Tamara Housley, I think she's called, is the glue in Jerry Hinnen's relationship? That's fantastic. Right, okay, so let's go to our sponsor. So this episode, as always, is sponsored by the fantastic Magic Rock Brewing. Hopefully you were there on Saturday. Pre-match drinks and then after-match commiseration, drinky poo. So at Magic Rock do sponsor this podcast, which we're very grateful for. And if you do want to buy some Magic Rock items online, you can use our code of AHTTC10 and you will get 10% off all online orders. Okay. Right, I think we shall get into the game. I'm just bringing that for anybody who watches on YouTube. I'm just bringing the ticket across the bottom. Right, let's get into it. Huddersfield Town 0, Leicester City 1. I am mates with Stephen Chicken, and we were messaging each other at halftime, and we were both like, this is a great game, is this? This is really enjoyable to watch. And, I really enjoyed the game. I know we lost. Ultimately, I seen one high-ish profile Huddersfield Town fan had a go at everybody saying it's a results-driven business, which, all right, you take that on one hand. But I actually went to a Huddersfield Town game and enjoyed it, which is something I didn't really do much last season, especially in the early part. But it was good to see Matty Pearson back fit. When he went off against Plymouth, there was a slight worry that he was limping, and a lot of people were like, is that his knee? Has his knee gone again? No, just a dead leg, and he was back, which was great to see. And he looked like he'd never been injured. Fantastic. Town in a slightly different shape the first half. It was like a 4-1-4-1 with Jonathan Hogg just dropping off Diarra and Radoni dropping back to make it a 2 in the second half. But Town were very front-footed, weren't they? And very, excellent, really snapping in and getting in the face of Leicester City. Okay, Leicester have immense quality and got round the back a couple of times. But I actually thought Town played really well. And both sides really could have gone in at half-time, a goal or two up. But when you're Huddersfield Town, and you're playing who many believe to be the best side in the league, you have to take those chances, don't you, when they come? And Town will probably be kicking themselves a little bit over maybe particularly that Hellick chance, which did jump up a little bit at him, didn't it? And maybe the Diarra one, but Diarra was pretty much was crowded out by the looks of it on the replay. But those are the things. If you're going to beat Leicester City or get something, you need to really take one of those, don't you?
Yeah, I think there were I think it was Karoma as well. First half had a decent strike, pretty much straight at keeper, but with plenty of power, and he had to deal with it. But yeah, I think you're right, Matt. I don't know if you were referencing me there with the old results-driven business. I think I put something similar on Twitter.
It was somebody who worked on Coronation Street who saw his.
Of course,
he's a little bit more ferocious than you. Yeah, he's a
little bit more aggressive, isn't he? But no, I must admit, I did say this morning that it is a results-driven business, and at the end of the day, it is. But I have to agree with you. Certainly, first half, I enjoyed it. It was a bit of a strange atmosphere down there. It were very reminiscent of our time at Premier League, where everybody seemed to kind of be up for it. I think we are good fans when there's backs are against the wall, rather than when we're winning down at Town. When we're up against it, we do tend to stick with the team, and it were a good atmosphere, and the energy on the field certainly transferred into the stands. Certainly first half. I think we were. If Hellick puts that away, it's a bit of a different game, and it put right in front of me, and it did just one of them awkward ones where if it'd been half a step in front, it'd have probably miskicked it and it'd have gone in. Whereas it just bounced up and he almost connected with it too well, and obviously it went sort of flying over stand. But yeah, we were good for 45 minutes, and even second half, I thought we came out and went for it. Obviously, as we got tired, I think Leicester grew into it. Obviously got the goal.
Tearing up my agenda again. This.
Oh, sorry, mate. Yeah, well, I think I think Lee Nichols probably could have done a little bit better with a goal, but we stuck at it, and it weren't until we really tired towards sort of 60-70 minutes that Leicester kind of got on top and probably could have got another couple. But no, overall, mate, I think I kind of agree with you. I did I did enjoy it. I don't like to lose, but if I can come away and think, well, at least I've enjoyed it, that's obviously a lot better. And I'll stop there just in case I go on and ruin any more of your agenda.
Do you want to go through the Q&A as well? Kevin Nagle's Q&A that we've got coming up later. Anything else?
No, I'll hang on with that for now until we get to that bit.
Jerry, great to see you back, mate. It's always fun to have you on. When you're sat watching Huddersfield Town over there in Alabama, does Brahima Diarra get you off your feet, get you off that chair, and sort of really sort of excite you? Because he does me, and he does the other.
No, he did that last season too. He felt like such a breath of air in the middle of that season where absolutely nothing was happening, and like Fotheringham would bring him off the bench, and for like the last half hour, he would actually get on the ball, run at people, actually play like he wanted to win the football match, as opposed to most of Town's other players last season. I loved him then. I love him now. I think both he and Karoma, if you play FIFA, the video game, you've got the sliders. They've got their like dribble sliders really far up and their pass sliders, a little bit further down. I think we need to tweak those a little bit. Just take the dribble slider down just one little notch, take the sort of awareness passing slider and not turn that up just a little bit, because you don't want to take the confidence that we see from Diarra and Karoma right now and take that away, because it makes them lesser players. Like Karoma, again, this has been the case whenever he's played for Town, generates shots like at a higher level than basically anybody else in the team. Like, what he's going to do, and he's extremely good at it. Karoma is better at cutting in from the left onto his right and unleashing a shot than basically almost anybody else in the team is at doing any one particular thing, right? And we saw it again in this game. Paz, you mentioned it, where he had the shot on frame that the keeper Stanowich managed to palm over, but that was a great strike. Both Diarra and Karoma, I love the confidence and the bravado that they've come out, that they want to push Town forward, that they want to score goals, that they don't want to just sit back, and that they have the mentality, I don't care that you're playing for Leicester City. I can take you. I can take you off the dribble and get my shot in. And I think that confidence is really important for this team. I think that starts with Neil Warnock. He's always had that kind of confidence. It doesn't matter who you are. We can beat you. We can take you. And it was great to see on Saturday. I totally agree, Matt. Diarra he's a thrilling player to watch. Like, again, there's a couple of times where it's like, well, let's just take one little micro breath, maybe see if there's a pass on, rather than try to beat not just the first guy, but the second guy and the third guy as well, that I think we can work on. But, it's the beginning of the season. He's a young player. We've got time to work that out. I was really happy with his performance on Saturday. I thought he was really good, certainly to start the game against Plymouth. He had the shot off the post that created the goal in that game. Diarra's great, man. More Diarra.
I also thought Sorba Thomas had a really good first half, Cosy, as well. We'll bring the bear into the pod. Sorba Thomas, for me, worked really hard. I thought he had a good game as well. A couple of good balls into the box. But Town, give us your take on the game as well. Because like Paz says, Town did start to flag a little bit around the 60, 65 minute mark, didn't they? And that's where Leicester probably gained a bit more of an upper hand. But, you've got to be, if you're a top goalkeeper like Lee Nichols, you're going to be disappointed, aren't you, when it goes through your legs like that, no matter how hard he hits it. I think he'll probably be a little bit disappointed. And your pet peeve as well, fullbacks not blocking shots, crosses, also in the same move as well.
Yeah, we've got him on it. Just like all the other games, the two games before it, mistake costing us dear. To be honest, I didn't see them. It wasn't one of those games for me where I thought, Leicester going to get one here. Or I don't think the evidence was happening. But the only thing I'd say is, I don't know what I said, no one can have a go. But again, mate, I mean, I know it's different, but they've got like Ndidi and Vardy coming on who could change the game. But again, we bring in Pat Jones on again after we're behind and we're bombing.
I love Pat Jones. I think he's superb. I love him.
But yeah, it's just again we had our subs on coming in again, didn't we? When we're to go behind and that as well. But I think, and then we were bombing a lot of players forward, obviously chasing the game. But yeah, really good. Honestly, I didn't see them getting a goal, to be honest with you, in that as well. But just a bit of magic or a mistake. But Lee Nichols had a great game as well. I've seen a few couple of papers.
Two good saves, yeah. Two good saves. Yeah. Save first half and the save just after from from Leicester when they where it cut in, didn't they, on his left foot? Yeah, it's a shame really that happened, isn't it?
Yeah, that Mavididi looks a player, doesn't he? But yeah, it's good, and we're gutting really, and that as well. Just that, but all 3 games I think we played really well, but obviously Headley with his sending off, Alec and others last week with mistakes, and then again one there just killed us again against a good side. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because obviously you could take 2 views, can't you? That how well we're playing and results will come. But I bumped into a guy in Morrison's today. Obviously, this is where the great football chat emanates. Morrison's at my mic, and he said to me, "Yeah, but wait till we start playing crap. What about that?" So
I said that on WhatsApp as well, didn't I? I said it's yeah.
But disappointing to lose. You'd rather have Vardy smack one in when you're 25 yard or something than that. But
yeah, it is what it is. He's lost a yard or 2 apace as Jamie Vardy. Even Jonathan Hoggy was kept up with him once or twice on one of the balls over the top, and either Hoggy's been
not him, mate. Yeah, he's a full-blooded character, and he wasn't going to pull out of that.
Yeah. So one player who certainly wasn't crap for me was Jack Redoni. I thought he was outstanding. I say this all the time, but I was a little bit hard maybe on him at points last season because I could see that there's such a good player there that was either overplaying or perhaps having 1 or 2 confidence issues at one point. But since Neil Warnock's came, he has been phenomenally good, and I thought he was outstanding on Saturday. Really outstanding. His intelligence to drop into the back line at times for a number 10, naturally a number 10 or a wide player was outstanding. He really read the game really well, and his passing as well was better than what we saw last season. It was intelligent, it was bright, it was quicker, and I was so pleased with what I saw from him because he's a likable guy as well. He seems a really sort of nice, likable lad, doesn't he? And Cozzy, are you on the Redoni pony like me?
Yeah, isn't it weird? You hear a lot of shit chatted in football media and stuff, but I kept hearing once Redoni gets a goal, when he gets a goal. He got that goal at Watford. You were there, Pause, and he's not looked back since. He's just incredible, isn't he? And all of a sudden, I'm thinking, shut that bloody window because, we don't want to lose him. But yeah, it's fantastic. And the one thing that Neil Warnock seems to have done, and what I really like about it, is that he doesn't feel a gamble that a manager that is to gamble, but he creates a culture that take people on, have a go. You can hear it in his press conferences and that as well, which obviously comes onto the field and that as well. So when Redoni gets the ball, he's taking man going forward. You mentioned obviously Diarra there, Jerry. Kind of his attitude as well, and it's strange because his kind of substitutes just feel kind of we'll go for it after we're a goal behind. But the players on the pitch, it doesn't seem like to me you'll get told off if you have a go and make a mistake under Neil Warnock. And you would think before he came back to us, Neil Warnock, you think, oh God, he'd be just like solid. Settling back, not settling for what we've got. So you don't see that, I don't think, as well. So he's created that culture, to get forward. And yeah, Redoni, it's very pleasing to see, mate. And that as well. He's looking as good as anything in division. Maybe a bit of an outlandish thing to say, but if he keeps progressing like this, mate, I think January window we could be fending off a few offers.
Good player in the making. Anyone else can jump in when you want on any of these.
It's not just going forward in the game on Saturday. He had multiple interventions in the box as well, tracking back, which he's been, really a box-to-box midfielder under Warnock where, he really pops up at either end with really timely interventions. And, that's one of the most encouraging things from Saturday, because if there was a disappointment sort of on an individual level from the Plymouth performance, aside from the errors that led to the goals, it was that Redoni didn't feel like he had much of an impact in that match. Or at least not as much as Town are going to need him to make for the rest of the season. We just kind of bypassed the midfield. I think you guys talked about it in the review. The Plymouth match, we just didn't really have much control of the midfield. We tended to just go over the top of it, with Edwards playing these long balls. And, we generated a lot of chances out of it. I don't think, that was necessarily a bad thing. But Redoni didn't really have a big impact on that match. I was really curious to see whether that was going to be a long-term thing. It absolutely was not. I thought he was great, again, on both ends of the pitch against Leicester, and that was really, really great to see.
Yeah, unbelievably good. And, it's really good to see these 2 young players progressing in Diarra and Jack Radonian, we say this every week, but we really need to get a decent contract under Brahima Diarra's nose and make him sign it. Let's not make the same mistakes. Well, mistakes, but let's not be played like we were with Etienne Kamara's agent, because Brahima Diarra seems a really smashing young lad, doesn't he? And he's growing at Huddersfield, and let's keep that journey, which is great. One player as well, boys, who was growing a lot last season, and he's a player I like a lot. He has great energy. He has fantastic, really good strength. Gets up and down the left-hand side really well. Is Jaheim Headley, and obviously he made a mistake on against Middlesbrough. It wasn't a massive mistake. There's the slightest of touches, and the striker goes down, like really pathetically. But this day and age, people give you a red card, don't you? Jaheim Headley is someone who contributed massively to Huddersfield Town staying in this division last year with a string of really good performances. Seems a really nice, decent young man. So to see him be abused on social media was a real kick in the teeth to people like me, not just to Jaheim, but to decent, or people who think they're decent like me, Huddersfield Town fans who, would never dream of abusing a player online, no matter what it was over. And I was so disappointed that a good young player like that was at the brunt of something racist and vulgar. And I'm really pleased that the club have taken they've taken no shit on it, basically. And, I just want to say I know Jaheim Headley won't listen to this podcast, and he shouldn't listen to this podcast. But, I think everybody at this podcast 100% supports Jaheim Headley and the actions taken by the club, because this is a game for everybody, and everybody is equal when they walk out onto that pitch. And the only people that aren't equal are the wankers that abuse players. And that's all I've got to say. But I can throw that out to you guys as well if you guys want to talk about that.
No, just echo your comments, man. I think general rule of thumb, that I always try and abide by, is don't say anything on social media to someone that you wouldn't say to the face. And obviously, whoever said whatever they said, I didn't see it, so I don't know exactly what it said. So it doesn't need repeating anyway if people did. But if you're not prepared to go up to someone and say that to the face, don't say it on social media. We all have his opinions, we all have his views. Put them across in a respectful and articulated way. Absolutely fine, no problem with that. But to be abusive and to use racist language is disgraceful in this day and age. And hopefully they find out whoever it was, and they get the punishment that they deserve.
In any age, I think. I think I agree fully. But yeah, any age. Jerry, you're nodding, but cause if I think we've said all we need to say, haven't we? But if you guys want to chip in with anything, please feel free to do so. On that, no, I think we've said all we need to say, haven't we? Right, so let's go to social media and let's get the view of Huddersfield Town fans on the game itself. So what we're trying to do this year is we're trying to bring more voices to the podcast. We're changing the guest every week. This week we've got Jerry on, and that doesn't mean we won't have Jerry on again this season, because we will, because Jerry is awesome. But what we do is we throw out on to social media. We want your thoughts on the game immediately after kickoff when the emotion is raw. So we've done a nice little stat. Anybody who's eagle-eyed will see that I balls it out first time and deleted it and reposted it with the correct one. So well done to Daniel Stevanato, who did notice that when I ignored him there. But yeah, well done. It probably would have sat there all day and night as well if he hadn't mentioned that, so fair play. So Huddersfield Town 0, Leicester 1. So I've asked for these comments, and Steve G says, possession stats are meaningless, especially Leicester's, as their possession was pity-patty and very risky passing of the football in their own half, an 18-yard box. Warnock possession is at least exciting with the ball going into dangerous areas. Give me Warnock ball any day. And do you know, as I replied to him, I said, when I think it was when we had Mark Robbins as manager, and we were getting like 65-70% possession and still losing. And when you finally work out that possession stats are all based on passes, and mostly that a lot of football teams actually inflate their possession stats just by little tapping passes between each other in defense, you realize how pointless it really is as a metric to use to see if somebody dominated a game. Leicester just passed the ball around a lot more than us in areas where they couldn't hurt us. So for me, territory is king.
Yeah, it's a bit deceptive as well, Matt, that, isn't it? Because like you're watching the game, I'm just like, look, the stats today, it's like 32% possession we have, but it just didn't feel like that. I don't know why it is. Is it because we're giddy because we're still in the game against Leicester? Because if they're 4 down, we're bowing to Enzo Maresca and and his sexy football and that as well. It's like, it's really weird, isn't it? It's under Warnock, apart from that Blackburn game where we got pelters, and even that, I'd say, at times we were like, it was a bit of a strange game, that one. But yeah, it is a strange start, that as well. But it's it doesn't. But yesterday, it just didn't feel like we were getting overwhelmed, did it really? And that as well. And but like Paul said, I think a lot's to depend. Warnock's good at managing expectations coming into the game. His press conference is always interesting. So it was the usual. Look at their bench. They can't expect a lot. So the fans are buying into that and going into that ground, like you said, Paul. It's just like low expectations. So I think we're doing that against Birmingham. I don't know whenever we play them. It's a bit different, but interesting stuff. And that man marking thing, Matt's caused a bit of a stir, isn't it? It's that video that game Gallagher pointed out earlier on. So, but
retweeted from somebody who's quite decent, isn't he, with tactical analysis. But Guillaume Balaguer, there was a little video, wasn't there, about how Leicester broke through, and they did on a couple of occasions, and that's fine. But when you're knocking around keeper defender, like we used to do under Lee Clark, where Joe Scars and Andy Butler just used to do Chuckle Brothers, sort of to me to you, that stuff just doesn't really mean anything. But let's carry on with the comments. At Newmill Paul says, a different type of loss with Preston competed well with promotion prospects, but we dropped too deep in the second half and relied on Radoni as almost a sweeper. Ward needed subbing on 60 minutes, but we waited until the goal to change it. We're hampered by strength in depth. I thought Wardy got overly criticised after the game. I didn't think he had a great game. There were a couple of arguments with Neil Warnock, down in front of us, which I think was based on Wardy not being able to run around as much after the 60-minute mark because he was goosed. He just looked like maybe he was carrying something, Danny Ward. And when, and he's got history, and I don't mean a knife, Jerry, you're looking at me all confused there. I mean like an injury. But it just wouldn't surprise me if Danny Ward was just carrying a little tweak somewhere whereby he perhaps wasn't quite as at 100%. But we've seen good performance before.
I think it's a fair criticism to say that Warnock should have turned to his bench a little bit earlier, particularly with what we've seen from Pat Jones and Kean Harrett this season specifically. Harrett had the goal, obviously, against Middlesbrough. I think he's looked really lively when he's come on so far this season. He did it again against Leicester. Pat Jones has looked phenomenal when he's come on. The number of chances he's created in his very limited time on the field has been great. I think it's time for those two players in particular to get a little bit more time on the field. I think the hour mark, maybe even a little bit before that, I think would be fair reward for the way they've started this season. And, we talked about Town sort of, maybe losing the plot a little bit down the stretch of that game. Leicester brought on Jamie Vardy, Wilfred Ndidi, Mark Albrighton, and I forget his first name, Chowdhury. These are all Premier League good players. Like, these are not guys who have just played in the Premier League and sort of been on the back end of the bench for some sort of relegation fodder. Like, these guys are guys who have played at the very highest level, who won the FA Cup with Leicester. Like, I had to look it up because here's my hot take, okay, from this game. I think that Leicester squad is, at least on paper, the strongest squad I've seen Huddersfield Town face in the championship. There's just so much talent, not just in the starting 11, but on the bench. I looked it up. 8 of the players that were in their 18 or whatever it is yesterday were in their 18 when they won the FA Cup, a couple years back. And that didn't even include Matavidi, who was, I thought, their best player, Dewsbury Hall, who was excellent yesterday, I thought. That team, to me, is just on another level from what we would typically see in this division. Now, that's, they may not always play like it. I don't think they're like a guaranteed lock for auto promotion or the championship or anything. But that was an incredibly deep, talented squad for this division. And I do think that has to be taken into account, particularly when we talk about the last 20 to 25 minutes of the game where, they're bringing on Wilfred Ndidi off the bench, Jamie Vardy off the bench. I do think you have to kind of take that into account.
100%.
That Wout face, I want his hair, mate. I know, where have I gone wrong to have that? That Wout face was unbelievable. Their best player at the back, best player on the pitch. I thought the way he brought the ball out, purring, man. He looked Rolls Royce, and Ward were getting no change out of him. So to me, that obviously I know better than Neil Warnock. 8 promotions and what have you that is, and I've got 0. But to me, he were getting no change out of him, Matt. So why why not be a bit braver there? You know what I mean? And I think the crowd more frustrated, not really at what, it's just that they want the change. And I get we haven't got obviously the depth of the bench. Jerry just reeled off there, but just something a little bit different, because there was no evidence to me that were ever going to change, because that was where just got his cigar out with his big perm and going all afternoon.
Yeah, you want maybe that's where you can bring on Jurassic Kyle, can't you? And just throw the ball up to him maybe. Let's finish these comments. So Craig Watson sent me the top stats, reposted the top stats, and it shows the big chances in the game: Huddersfield 2, Leicester 1. So I guess that is disappointing from that angle. Leicester's accurate passing was 85% and ours was 64%. I guess that's why we have lower pass stats as well, because we tend to go a bit longer as well. Don Campbell says, definitely thought we should have had a point today. Not clinical enough in the final third. Thought Radoni and Hogg played well today. Nichols will be disappointed with the goal. On to Borough. Danny Smith says, we competed and played very well against the champions-elect. A game plan was in place and the players were fired up. We have to get Diarra a new deal before he leaves in the same fashion Kamara did. Sooner we get a striker and central midfielder, the better. And the last three, Dean Smith says, what has happened to Ruffles? Looked a totally different player to this time last year, and at times today turned into prime Ashley Cole. Our left back was always our weak part last season, but this looks strong with the same players. Bizarre. I actually thought Ruffles had a good game as well on Saturday. There was one point where he played when Nichols made that one-on-one save where he got caught deep and played them onside, and I was about to shout at him if they scored, but after that he played really well, so it's a good spot that from Dean. Rowan Edwards says, we were worth a point today, possibly all three on a good day. Defeat to Leicester won't define our season, but that disciplined battling display just might. Couple of signings before the window shuts will give the squad a boost. And then Tom says, I thought we deserved a point today. Battling performance, Radoni improves every week and Diarra causes real issues. If we play like that every week, we'll be fine. And Sarah tries to use us as an advertisement for a young vlogger on YouTube. Let's give him Harry Kilner. He's a good lad. Yeah, go watch his vlogs. Right, okay. So let's close that and we'll move on to the next. So what we've done is we've also asked, I think Neil Warnock gave quite a succinct version, didn't he, of his feelings on the game, which were?
Well, if any fan's disappointed with that, they need locking up.
Classic Neil Warnock. And what we'll do is we'll move on to the opposition view as well. This week's view comes from Brad from Leicester Till I Die TV.
Hello, this is Brad, a Leicester fan from LTID TV. It was a tough game. You guys really, really should be impressed with your performance. I think on another day, you actually get a result, maybe even 3 points from the game, if I'm being honest. It was a tough game. It was obviously nice being the away supporter that we was able to get the 3 points. But you had some chances, and like I said, on another day, I really feel that Huddersfield would have taken one of them chances. It'd have been tough for us to find a way back. I thought you were defensively resolute, and the way Enzo has us trying to play football, you made it very difficult because you were very compact, numbers back, and you weren't afraid to attack us, which is probably the blueprint to lay out for any side that we come up against this season if you're going to take us on the way Enzo's got us playing football, or at least wants us to play football. Feel a bit sorry for your goalkeeper. I'm a former keeper myself, so getting nutmegged for a goal is never pleasant. It's not nice to concede a goal at any level, but when it's like that, especially the save he made in stoppage time, he cursed himself saying I could save that, but not the nutmeg. But obviously, as a Leicester fan, I'm delighted that we've made it 2 wins out of 2. But from what I've seen, I know you had a poor start. So obviously 3 defeats in a row, but I wouldn't take too much downhearting in that. I mean, you look at it from a neutral's point of view, we're the favourites to not just get promoted, but probably win the division. And you probably gave us just as tough as test, if not, I'd probably say even more of a tougher test than Coventry did in that game. So, yeah, grateful to beat you. Very tough game. Very happy to come away and get away with a point. Good luck with your battle in the Championship. Hopefully, if we can go up automatically, see you in the playoffs, and this time you win it. Good luck for the rest of the season.
Good luck for the rest of the season. See ya.
Wasn't that nice from Brad?
What, getting back on?
I know. If he's going to say such nice things about us, we'll get him on.
He's the most positive Huddersfield Town fan I've ever heard.
That's because he's a Leicester fan. He's probably happy. But
Yeah,
what we'll do, so what we'll do at this stage, we will take a moment for an ad break. I know you guys hate them, but they help us out. So here's the latest one. Not sure, Cozzy, whether that's still going to be the McDonald's adverts that we recorded a bit since. I don't know if they've changed it up yet, but I think there's some new ones coming in. But I still can't believe they rejected our initial McDonald's McDonald's adverts that we put together. We put together some bespoke ones, Jerry, because they gave us a script to read out. And
it's McDonald's. You needed an American to read them. Come on.
I should have thought of that. Yeah. But yeah, we did a bespoke one based on Stephen Chicken and Chicken Nuggets, and they just didn't like it and sent it back. So it was quite disappointing.
That is a crying shame. A crying shame.
I know. I even added the sound effects in as well, with me apparently reading the Examiner talking about chicken, and then Brady coming in with chicken nuggets. But never mind. It's their loss. Anyway, so this week, Pozza obviously shirked from his bare knuckle. Brass knuckle, was it bare knuckle or brass knuckle? I can't remember, but the scrap.
Bare knuckle, mate. Bare knuckle.
You absolutely shit out when Kevin Nagle offered. So he's been over here, hasn't he, the last week? And I'll be honest, every time he speaks, the more I quite like him. He says a lot of good things, a lot of things that make sense. I think initially they didn't feel like there was much of a plan, but I think when you put everything together, you understand why that was, because they kind of. It was very much like, hey, do you want to buy this club? Okay, we'll buy the club. Well, here it is, kind of things like, oh shit, what do we do now? And it was, that's the way it comes across in the documentary. But now they're starting to put things into place, and you kind of understand. And the fan zone, for example, looked much better than it has done before. Cozzy, you'll remember that time, was it against Leeds maybe, where it was referred to online by quite a lot of people as Chernobyl, because there were like big holes in the ground with big puddles everywhere, and it was raining, and a bouncy castle with a child on it looking miserable in the picture. And it didn't look great, did it? But it did on Saturday. They had a really good band. Floors are decent. Local Huddersfield band, fans of the club, which was nice. And everything looked quite good when I walked past it. Unfortunately, I didn't get there in enough time to sample it, but I might do if it's going to look pretty good. And you get a player outside, don't you, Pos? We saw Luke Daly, didn't we, when we went for the Hinnen being friendly, and things like that are quite good. And Jack and Charlie get to meet players, don't they, and people that they can aspire to play like. But anyway, on to the Q&A. So Kevin Nagle's Q&A. So we've pulled out a couple of questions, and we'll just have a chat about it. I think they're worth going over. Shout out to the Cowshed Loyal. Formed in 2008, Pos, weren't they? Not 2014.
Yeah, mate, I'll let you argue that one out with Mr. Greaves.
No, it's all about Greaves and the ego. But anyway, so the first question that I've put out is he mentions that there are negotiations going on with Netflix about the story of our takeover and the special nature of this football club. It is a story that needs to be told, and we want this club punching above its weight nationally and internationally. 2 episodes have gone out for free already on YouTube, so I'm not sure where the starting point is with that, but it'd be interesting, wouldn't it, if you get an all or nothing Huddersfield Town documentary. I thought last year Neil Warnock's final season, it probably won't be Neil Warnock's final season, but his final chart in his final path has got gold written all over it, doesn't it? Especially last season would have been phenomenal if they'd have had the cameras in for that. But Huddersfield Town on Netflix, Cozzy?
Matt, now this is going to be controversial, but I'm not asked one bit. It's a saturated market. You've got that Burnley thing going out at the moment. Who cares? Who's asked?
Well, people abroad who they're trying to sell stuff to.
Is it really going to, this is, everyone's doing it, Matt. Is everyone's going to, right, I'll invest. I could be totally wrong here, but it's just, when I first heard that, it's like, what? I don't know.
Trying to sell shirts to people in Jerry's supermarket is what we're trying to do.
But not at the moment. We're going to, I bumped into one on YouTube as well. I think Yeovil Town have done one as well. I don't know why. YouTube, it connects all your stuff. Yeah, it connects all your stuff that you watch. So I watched ours, and then Yeovil Town pops up. But obviously if it gets investment in, then great. But
Well, it's about commercialism and selling commercials, isn't it? And potentially selling sponsorship. And Wrexham have done it phenomenally well for a club that were in non-league. I know it helps having Deadpool as your owner, doesn't it? But they've done phenomenally well with what they've done. There are quite a lot of clubs above us doing it, but it is a slightly different story, I guess. I'd be quite interested. I've quite enjoyed the documentary. Jerry, as a fan overseas, is this the kind of thing that you want to see? Because obviously we sit. Well, I live in Leeds. Pozza lives, Bradford, and Cozzy lives in roundabout Heckmondwike area. So, don't want to give out your direct addresses, lads. Don't worry. But for us, we're very local to the club, so we're quite in touch with things, on match day. But for someone who's, more out of touch because you live, thousands of miles away, how would you sort of like look at something like that? And do you think it's got a hook for your fellow Americans to get involved?
I haven't seen one yet. I'll be honest with you, Matt. That's what we're looking for, right? Is the hook. Like, you can't just put a series on Netflix, even on YouTube, and just say, "Oh, well, let's take a look behind the scenes of Huddersfield Town," and expect your average American sports fan to be interested. Like, you have to give them a reason to tune in, and the reason that Wrexham has succeeded beyond what I think anybody expected. First of all, yes, they've got the Hollywood owners who come in, but also with Wrexham, they're non-league, used to be league, now non-league. They're on hard times. So now the new owners, which you have this pre-built-in narrative, right, where they come in and they're going to like fix things and move things in the right direction, which they've done by spending oodles of money. Like, this is part of what doesn't get mentioned in the Wrexham story, is that a huge part of their success, now don't get me wrong, like, the players have done really well, they've been well managed, but they've poured in, by non-league standards, massive amounts of money. There's a reason they just signed Will Boyle, right? Like, Will Boyle was a championship player and, not a starter on a regular basis, but at least a contributor. For him to go all the way, 2 divisions down is because Wrexham have the money to pay that guy. And the other teams who are getting promoted from non-league football, the other teams who are in League One and League Two, don't have the kind of money to sign Will Boyle. So you've got the hook.
Here, is that Jerry?
Yeah,
but yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
right.
Wrexham have the money. Yeah, go figure. So the reason Wrexham have succeeded: one, they've got that hook. B, they're spending the money to make the narrative that they want play out. And full credit to them. It has worked an absolute treat. But let's tune in to see Huddersfield Town try desperately to finish 14th rather than 20th this season under their new American owner. I don't think that is going to sell. I think we need some sort of real combination on-field, off-field hook. I think let's encapsulate the career of legendary manager Neil Warnock in his final season. That sort of thing, I think, has legs. Does it have enough legs to make a Wrexham-like splash? That I'm pretty skeptical about. Let's try to tell the story of an American businessman taking over this, club that to any normal American, we can sell the history. We can sell, some of Huddersfield's past, that sort of thing. To me, that's not going to make a big enough splash to make this necessarily worth their while. Now, personally, if they want to make a Netflix series about Huddersfield Town, yes, I'm there. Me, that sounds great. I want to see, behind the scenes footage and this professionally done documentary style footage of like Huddersfield matches and behind the scenes stuff with, the locker room guys, all that. Yeah. Give me. I want it. I don't know if anybody else wants it is the issue.
And that's very well put. I don't think anyone can top that. Pause, get it clipped. Yeah, let's move on because I don't think anyone can top that. Well done, Jerry. So the next one was Rambo says, have you met with Neil Warnock yet? Are there any signings that you could update us with? Obviously, people are frantic online. Well, I won't say frantic. I think they've calmed slightly, but previously were a little bit frantic prior to the start of the season about needing signings. We do. There's no two ways about it. But he said after the Plymouth result, people want to hit the panic button. That isn't what I'm about. We're going to do some signings. They're just about done. And Neil Warnock's mentioned about being let down by an old club. Linked players have been Billy Sharp at Sheffield United, Daniel Jebison, Sheffield United, and Josh Coburn at Middlesbrough. Is it one of these? Who's to say? I wouldn't say even if it were, if I knew. But yeah, but I would. This podcast will hit very late Sunday night, so the Americans hear it first. But Monday morning, I wouldn't think that you would have to wait too much longer before you can get a little bit excited about a signing. That's all I'm going to say on that one. Again, we've done it to death. What we think we need, me, Poz, and Cozzy. Jerry, I suppose you're of the similar mind, aren't you? A striker, central midfielder.
They need a central midfielder, like 100%. I will say one thing I've appreciated about when Kevin Nagle's been asked about this is he hasn't just said, "Oh, don't worry, there's a plan in place, but I'm not going. Everything's fine, nothing to worry about." La da da. He said, "Yeah, you're right. We need signings." I appreciate it.
Yeah. Next one. So, question: how are Huddersfield Town going to grow in future? And this is things that interest me far more than Cozzy, because I find the geeky things like this quite interesting. And he says, we're going to make sure that we do things right. We're going to strengthen the academy. We've written to the EFL about that. I don't talk about the academy a lot because I used to work there for 7 years. So it always felt like if I said something which was construed as negative, it wouldn't be a good look. So I tend not to go over that ground, to be honest. But for me, I've always felt that one of the worst things Hoyle did was change the academy structure. In the Premier League, I didn't think there was much reason to do that because everything that he said we wanted to do, you could have done it in the Premier League anyway. A lot of the things that he said they'd do, like the foreign training camps, never really happened. I think it happened for the first 6 to 12 months and then quietly disappeared. He said it cost him more money in signing players than it would have done normally. Never happened. It happened under Phil Hodgkinson for 12 months and then not really. But I think one of the changes really which screwed this approach, and it can work if you're willing to spend money on particular players. We bought Pat Jones, which was a good move, but we could have done that on the old system. We bought Diarra, which could have been done. We did it with Philip Billing, Kamara, etc. And Kamara's made us a couple of million quid. Great. So for me, I think these things though can work with the traditional structures. And to be fair, if you're serious about an academy, there's no reason why you can't run a traditional academy and do these things as well. So I'm quite pleased that it's coming back. I realise it's difficult. You look at people or clubs like Bristol City who do quite well out of theirs, Norwich, etc. Similar clubs like Wigan tend to do quite well out of theirs as well. So you can see it's quite doable. The problem with Huddersfield is that we are fishing in a very saturated pool. So, Jerry, it's all about that hook again. So you need a different hook at Huddersfield Town, but it's very much doable to get players through. And we've seen Lewis O'Brien come through. Your Lewis O'Briens. I know people will turn their nose up at players like Ryan Schofield, Scott High, Josh Osterfield, etc. But these guys have come through and played important minutes for the football club. And it's not just about selling players for money. It's about trying to create, your suitable backups, players that you can bring in at certain points, players that could do a job for you in a pinch, and just about being able to put players on the pitch. And for me, it's a good move. I'm really pleased Kevin Nagle's doing that. Do I think we'll go to EPPP Category 1, which costs a couple of million a year? No, I don't think we'll do that. But I think we'll slowly build up. And I'm interested to see how that goes. And I will be keeping an eye on it. And to be fair to Dean Hoyle's way, that could have worked if the GBE rules due to Brexit hadn't come in. We could have really gone out and picked out some little gems. But that little change has really altered the way Huddersfield Town can work. And also, I think there are rules I've heard at some point coming in whereby if you do want to operate in the top 2 levels of English football, you do need an academy down to, I think, under 14 level or something. I'll need to double check those rules, but there are rules and changes coming in. So it's a positive move. Pozza, you're a big man of developing kids. Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Matt. I think obviously I do a lot of grassroots football coaching in Huddersfield area, and I've worked with plenty of talented kids between 6 right up to sort of 16, and it kind of annoys me that there's no local academy at Huddersfield Town for these kids to go to. I've seen players move on to Leeds, Sheffield, Man City, Man United, places like that. even like York, they've got academies for young kids, and I think it's such a shame, that we don't have that at Huddersfield, because the Huddersfield Junior Football League at HJFL, I'm sure there's plenty of people who listen who are involved in that, is one of the biggest in the country. I think it's just recently won an award for last season for the way that it's run, and the amount of teams that it has. So there's a lot of young kids and a lot of local talent that we will miss out on. Obviously, I get there's a big cost in running it right down to 6s and 7s. Like some places do. I think even Man City do 4s, which is ridiculous, really. But that's another conversation. So I get that there's a lot of outgoings in it. And if you don't bring those players through that you can sell for 10, 20 million, then it is money going out rather than a lot coming back in. But I think it's a great way to kind of build up an income stream. Just coming back to kind of like the original thing, Matt, when talking about Nagel increasing the income to the football club. I think he's said many a time that he wants it to be sustainable, which I think is brilliant. I applaud that. Obviously, to be sustainable, I think it will take quite a dramatic income change at town. Looking at some of the clubs that have been promoted recently, turnovers in 50 million plus a year. Obviously, there's a lot of TV money in there because there tend to be teams that have come down, which we've now going to be losing out on. So I think look to match kind of that income. We need to be bring sort of an extra 15 million a year, really, which is a hell of a lot of hot dogs to sell. So he's got a big task on his hand to do that. I think his ideology, or the way that he's kind of hinting at, is with the academy, is to kind of go down the route that Hoyle kind of mentioned when he were with us. The buy cheap, sell high kind of model. Bring in young players, develop them within the club, and sell them on. Like your Lewis O'Brien's, for example, players of that kind of ilk, and sell them on, and almost do what Brighton are doing. Obviously, it would be a small scale to start with, but if we looked at the Brentford model, didn't we? I believe that Hoyle kind of looked at to copy originally. I think the Brentford one is now kind of
they've gone back,
the shining beacon. They're selling players for ridiculous money at the moment. So if we can replicate that in time, then fantastic. My only worry with it, in regards to the comments on sustainability, and potentially going off tangent here, so I do apologise, but I'm just a little bit worried that Kevin Nagle don't quite realise timeframes as much as maybe we do, knowing Huddersfield Town and football in the UK in general. You've kind of got to constantly be investing, and the old saying, if you're standing still, you're moving backwards in football is one of the most important things for me. So even though you may have a long-term 5, 6, 7 year plan to get us to where he wants us to be, you've still got to make sure that in years 1, 2, and 3 you're doing enough to progress. Because if not, this is a cruel league, and I think a lot of the concerns that I've personally had is, and we're kind of back in the last season as well, if you drop out of this league, the 6, 7 year plan can be you might as well rip it up and start again, because the income that you'll lose will not allow you to maybe put that plan into practice. So, yeah, I understand with there's constraints in regards to the budget, which I think you're probably going to come on to. We can't go spend millions. I don't think anybody, I see people saying, if people want us to go spend millions and throw millions around, I don't think anybody's suggesting that. I think it's what we're saying is we need to just add enough to get us over the line. I think Saturday were a prime example. Jerry, you mentioned 60, 70 minutes in. Look at Leicester who brought off the bench. I know it's kind of chalk and cheese comparison, but I looked at our bench and I'm thinking, who's going to come in that's going to make a massive difference to this match? There's nobody really there. You maybe look at Hudlin, and that's just literally because it's someone different rather than who is really good. I would have probably brought him on with 15 to go and just launched it into area and just see if you could get a second ball or he could win an header. But you weren't looking at that like Leicester were, in the fact that they had match winners on that bench. They could bring on proven quality where we were struggling. I think we need players to come in, hopefully tomorrow, Matt, as you mentioned, that can come in and be first team rather than they're on the bench just to make up the numbers.
Although you have to argue, though, part of having a successful academy is giving kids chances as well. I know you do need
100%, mate. 100%. Yeah, but, there's that fine line though in that you can't.
Yeah,
I was quite vocal again on the B team the other day that it were pretty much the whole team. I think if you look back historically, the way that Man United used to bring young players through, the way that, dare I say, Leeds in their Champions League kind of glory days, they had a lot of young players, and it's one or two at a time. You need the experienced people around them. You need the better players around them. You can't bring 20 through all at once and expect
you
it
can't
to
replace
work.
Jonathan Hogg with a player who's never played, can you? Unless they're super.
Exactly, mate. Yeah. So I applaud
they also need that bridge as well, don't they? Because I think one thing Town didn't do very well when we had the academy was they never really sent players out on loan, and what they did really well under Lee Bromby is they created this bridge whereby they would loan, like Headley, for example. He went out to Conference North or whatever it's called now, Northern Premier League. So he went to the Conference and then League Two, and those incremental loans are really useful. And it's about using, I think it's David Fox, isn't it, the loan manager that we've got, to make sure that we get some good loans for players as well. That's something that we've picked up under the new system, and it's a very good way of doing things. But we need to move on, because otherwise we'll never hit that magic 60 minutes that you do want to hit. Another thing was, if Kirklees and the Giants aren't prepared to contribute to the ground refurbishments, what's the plan? And Kevin Nagle says, I want the stadium. We have to negotiate about it. We had a meeting today where we danced around everything but the actual question. He actually, Cozzy, on Radio Leeds, said that Ken Davey was a delightful man, and he absolutely adored Ken Davey. So there's one for Cozzy to grind his teeth on. And then he goes on about the Yorkshire Rose and walking around testing people. And he goes on about bringing Marston's into the stadium and back to Sacramento, which I thought was a good sense of humour from him as well. But look, the gas pub
looks into it.
Yeah, and maybe the rope walk as well. That's shut down now, isn't it? So there's areas for things like that. Local products in the stadium would be great, but I'm not sure what the markup would be. I've already seen a few people moaning about the price of beer and things in the fan zone.
The stadium is so frustrating. Pause, you're going to faint here, but I got a season card at Kilmarnock this year, and mate, it's just like 1994, Ben Thornley and Andy Turner and what have you. It's just nothing's changed in there. The place is, it's depressing, isn't it? And the good thing is that Kevin Nagle seems to be wanting to inject a bit of life into the stadium, but I don't understand why. Honestly, it's just such a noose around our neck, isn't it? But do you remember when King and that lot, they got the shares back and nothing's changed? And when did we get the shares back? 2000 and what was that season? When we went up, 2010, 11? When we got 11, something like that, like 10, 12 years we've had them shares back. It's meant nothing, hasn't it? And I remember dismay when I heard that, what Nagel said before. I get it. New owners saying bashing anything against a big hole. I can't believe it though. Why can't they see? And obviously he's talking about concerts and stuff and income coming into the town, but the stands, it's the trouble is they cut off, don't they, on these drone things. It looks good, doesn't it? Got them beautiful banana things with painted. They're not painted, they're like peeling off. Honestly, mate, the row I'm in the Kilmarnock Bank, there were no seat numbers at all dropped off. It was unbelievable, mate. There were about 2 numbers on a row of 10 seats. It's just like, oh God, to me.
Your mic's going a bit funny, Cozzy. I don't know if you're tapping your mic or something, but the sound's going a bit funny.
Ooh.
There he is.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah, I had to share my phone. But yeah, it's like, and it's like you moved to an house and then did nothing in 30 years to it. It's going to be pants, isn't it? It's going to be, look what it is. So it's no different to our stadium. I really hope it can do it, but, mate,
let's round it up, because Cozzy, I want you to talk about merchandise, although you sounds a little bit ropey at the minute. But he was asked what he thinks about our merchandise, and that's always been a slight bugbear of mine. And he says we need to change it. We've notified the companies that currently produce it that we are opting out of the last year, which indicates Umbro to me. I think we could do better, and if we use some joint powers with Sac Republic, who use Hummel, we can get going. So yeah, just from that, it's me saying 2 + 2, but it sounds like
I wondered what he meant. I wish he'd have expanded on it a bit, Matt. Whether he couldn't do or not, I don't know. But I'd love to. What did he mean? Not enough choice? Is it overpriced? Because Hummel's quite pricey as well. I like their gear better, but what does he mean by that? Is the Umbro not paying the club enough? But he wouldn't say. Obviously, he was a bit of a tease with that. I didn't go into more detail, but we'll soon find out.
Yeah, that's interesting. Another question was, Town have acted like a small club that doesn't deserve to compete at the top of the game for decades. This absolutely drives me wild how they do that. And Town have done this since 2012. Have acted like an insignificant speck of shite on somebody's shoe when they went up to the Championship and went, oh, we can't compete with this here. And everybody permeated that horrible attitude. And it was just and it made it a bit of a miserable watch. Watching us backs to the wall. And I think when you perpetuate something like that, I think it's almost self-fulfilling as well, in that sponsors are going to then be small and everything about it is going to be small. And I think Huddersfield Town don't beat the chest. I know we're beating chests in West Yorkshire is a sore subject, but they don't stick the chest out and be proud enough sometimes, I think, as a football club. It's a great football club, and I'm really happy to see Kevin Nagle and co sort of saying, do you know what, this is a pretty good football club, this. We just need a little bit of marketing. Pause drives you wild as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is a funny one, isn't it? Because it's one of those things that you hear often. We're only a small club, and we don't deserve to be here, and all that sort of stuff. And it has you can use that as a motivational tool. I think under Wagner it worked really well. But that was spun in a different way, wasn't it? That were no limits kind of thing. Whereas a lot of the time, I think back to Chris Powell. I think we played Derby, and you're like, "Oh, we can't compete with Derby," and it's like, come on. We can. We just because we might not get as many fans. I think people have different versions of what a big club is, and where people should be in a pyramid, and a lot of it just basically is who's got the most fans. Which it's not the greatest barometer, is it? But I think if you look back over our history, where you'd be a top 30 club just about on average position. Obviously, we've won the first division. Although 100 years ago we're FA Cup winners. We've been kind of there or thereabouts. Not spent years down in League Two, like Bradford City, for example, who like to claim that they're bigger than us. So yeah, I think it is one of those things we need to be proud of our history, and I think the thrice champion stuff will kind of maybe catapult us into that and give us a bit of a kick up the bum to celebrate more of his history, because we have had some good players on Huddersfield Town, and we should be more proud.
100%. 100%. So at this point as well, that's it really for the Q&A. Some really interesting bits and pieces. The Radio Leeds interview was good as well, and that added a little more that I did with Oggy. At this point, we usually do, if we've had an away game, I'll roll in an away day log here. Still had nobody come forward and say they'd like to do the away day log. Essentially all it is just record a few voice notes on the way to the game, during the game and after the game with your thoughts. Have a laugh with it. That's it. I really want that to be a feature this year, but it only works if you come forward and stick your head above the parapet. So please do that. And also another section as well we'll explore over the course of the season to how it does is results of the other teams as well that Huddersfield Town that represent Huddersfield Town. Huddersfield Town women won 6-1 in their final pre-season game before the season starts. We'll try and touch base with the women a bit more this season and try and gain some interest for that. Sunderland B beat Huddersfield Town B 6-1. It was a goal by Hazim Bakra who scored for us. Apparently it was a young Huddersfield team. And the under-19s drew 1-1 with Notts County, and there was a goal by a trialist by the name of Hugo Harvey. A last-minute equaliser for Notts County. We also want writers as well for the website, so if you fancy writing, ever fancied writing, I don't really police it that much, but please don't put anything that we would get sued for. But if you do fancy writing us, just get in touch via the socials or email me at matt@takesthatchance.com. I would love to have people writing for the website just so that we can generate a bit more traffic and interest. Doesn't pay, but we don't get paid either. So, we're all equal here. So labor of love. But that's it for this week from me, guys. Any other business from Mr. Kosmala, Mr. Porret, and Jerry the Brain?
No, mate, all good.
No,
I want to make one point real quick. So, somebody puts the clip of Sorba Thomas from the Plymouth game, sarcastically saying, look at him try, dying for the 3 points, as he admittedly does not do as well as he could to stop Mumba Bali, right? That guy's name for Plymouth, as he goes on to score. I hope whoever that was takes the clip of Sorba absolutely battling with the Leicester player on the sideline, grabbing his jersey, tugging on him, shoving him, and eventually drawing the foul and forcing the Leicester player into such a conniption fit that he talked himself into a yellow card. I forget which Leicester player it was.
Harry Winks? Harry Winks? Yeah, it might have been Harry Winks.
I think it was Winks. That sounds right. That's the Neil Warnock effect, right? You have a poor play 1 week, where clearly, I don't think Sorba was exclusively at fault by any means on that goal. As multiple people, you guys pointed out, Bali's just run right through the spine of the team. Pretty much somebody else has to take responsibility as well there. But Sorba didn't do well. Okay. We all know it. He knew it. I'm sure Neil Warnock knew it. He comes back the next week, and I thought he had a terrific performance, battled every step of the way, and just watching him battle with Winks there, again, is basically yanking Winks off the ball by his jersey. That's the Warnock effect, right? Like, you make a mistake, you come back the next week, you fix it, you do better. I think Sorba's going to have a great season. I'm encouraged by these first couple of games, right? Like, Plymouth went to Watford and held them to a 0-0 at Vicarage Road. So, I think you take that little tick that, the fact that Town scored a goal and very easily could have scored 2 or even 3 down at their place is, I think, a positive thing. I'm really encouraged with where, this club is right now. And if we add a central midfielder, I'll be even more encouraged.
100%. And that's a great way to go out, and let's hit the music.
There's a team that is dear to its followers. The colours are bright blue and white. They're a team of renown, and they're the pride of the town. And the game of football is their delight. And all the while upon the field of play, thousands loudly cheer them on the way. Often you can hear them say, who can beat the town today? And then the bells will ring so merrily, and every goal shall be a memory. So town, play up and bring that cup back to Huddersfield. So town, play up and bring the cup back to Huddersfield.